Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So today I'm trying some new lighting, so we'll see how it goes. Let me know in the comments whether this is better than my previous videos or not. Anyway, today's teamwork build is all about that shield. So, if you like what you see, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell to be notified of future videos. Let's dive in. So yes, we are building around a shield. However, believe it or not, a champion is not going to be our main class. We are going to archetype into champion, but we're going to be going with the Magus as our main class. Yes, the champion does have the most defense of any class in the game. However, Magus will give us something that the champion isn't as good at. With Magus, we can take feats and abilities that will make us an actual threat. As with any tank, we need a reason for enemies to attack us instead of our friends. Being a large threat will do that. Our hybrid study for this build is of course going to be Sparkling Targe. This will give us the Shield Block General feat, which will allow us to block damage with our shield. Also, when we're in Arcane Cascade, our shield's bonus applies to saves against magical effects. We can also use our shield block reaction against damaging magical effects, even if they don't do physical damage. When we block magical effects in this way, we can increase our shield's hardness by the amount of our Arcane Cascade. This hybrid study also gives us the Shielding Strike Conflux spell. For one action, we can make a strike and raise our shield at the same time. The moment we enter combat, we're going to want to get at least one of our shield buffs up. So that's going to take at least one action. We'll probably have to stride towards our opponent, and then we can use this spell to hit our target and raise our shield at the same time. Then, for our ancestry, we're going to be going with the Dwarf. And our heritage is going to be the one that I just covered about a week ago from when this video comes out, the Oread. Both the Dwarf and the Oread have really good feats for tanks, so it only makes sense to combine the two. And then we're going to go with the Cannoneer for our background. As a Magus tank, we're going to be carrying a lot between our armor, our shield, our weapon, as well as anything else we need. So Hefty Hauler will allow us to carry a little bit more. And before we get into feats, we should talk about the starting stats. Our starting ability score should be Strength 16, Dexterity 10, Constitution 12, Intelligence 16, Wisdom 14, and Charisma 10. So our first feat is going to be Magus's Analysis. For one action, we can recall knowledge about a creature. We get a +1 bonus to the check if we've hit a creature with a strike this turn. If you succeed, you recharge your spell strike. You can't use Magus Analysis on the same creature more than once per day. Basically, we get to recharge our spell strike and recall knowledge at the same time. Then for level 2, we'll pick up Expansive Spell Strike. This will allow us to use Spell Strike with spells that don't require spell attack rolls. We can use spells that have an area with Spell Strike as long as the target of our strike is within the area. So essentially now we can fireball a bunch of different creatures at once, as long as one of them is the one that we hit with our spell strike. And the more enemies we can hit with a single attack, the more enemies are likely to come after us instead of our party members. Then we'll want to pick up Emergency Targe. If we are wearing our shield or have the shield cantrip prepared, we can use a reaction to raise that shield or cast the spell. We can use this reaction whenever we are hit by an attack or fail a save against the spell. The defenses that our shield gives us apply to the triggering attack or spell. Then we'll pick up Basic Cleric Spellcasting. We're going to be picking up the Cleric dedication on our free archetype side of things. But we're going to need more than just that archetype for this build. So this feat will get us closer to that 3 feats that we need to take a second archetype, and it'll help us heal ourselves when we need it. Granted, this will only give us 3rd level heal spells by the time we're done, but we shouldn't have to heal ourselves up too much thanks to our shields. Then we'll pick up Armored Rebuff. We're not going to have a hand free to push enemies back. However, with this feat, we can push them back with our armor if they critically fail a strike against us. We're going to have a pretty high AC, so there's a good chance that lower level enemies are going to crit fail against us. So, if enemies get too close to our friends, we can push them back even though we don't have a hand free, as long as they critically fail on their strike against us. Next up we have Dazzling Block. Whenever we shield block, we can create a 15-foot cone of dazzling light, as long as we are in our arcane cascade. Every creature in the area must make a fortitude saving throw. Critical success, nothing happens. On a successful saving throw, a target is dazzled for 1 round. On a failure, the target is blinded for 1 round and dazzled for 1 minute. The creature can spend 1 action rubbing its eyes to remove the blinded condition. And on a critical failure, the target is blinded for 1 round and dazzled for 1 hour. Blinded and dazzled are great ways to give the rogue in your party that sneak attack. Also, the dazzle condition is a great way to give enemies a chance to miss your allies, even if you're not right next to them. So even if enemies do decide to go after your allies, you can give them a mischance with this feat. Now, 12th will take Overwhelming Spell Strike. For 2 actions, we can make a Spell Strike. If we do, we ignore the target's resistance to acid, cold, electricity, fire, or sonic damage equal to our level. Again, we want to be a threat in this build, even to enemies that have resistance to energy damage. So this will pretty much allow us to ignore resistances to our spells when we use our Spell Strike. Hasted Assault will give us the conflict spell of the same name. For 1 minute we become quickened, but we can only use the extra action to strike. Between raising our shield, buffing it, and spell striking, we're not going to have a whole lot of actions. So this will give us another one that we can just strike with. Conflux Focus will give us 2 focus points back whenever we free focus instead of just 1. We want to be able to use that shielded strike as much as we can, while still being a good tank. Unfortunately, we are going to need a different feat instead of Conflux Wellspring, but this will give us a little bit more focus points whenever we refocus. Then we'll need Quick Block. This will give us 2 reactions instead of just 1, although one of them has to be Shield Block. We have a few reactions in this build, so we want to be able to use 2 of them at the same time, especially the Emergency Charge Shield Block combo. And then at level 20, we'll take Whirlwind Spell. We can make a Spell Strike and make a melee attack against each enemy within our reach instead of just 1 enemy. If your spell could target multiple creatures, then your spell affects every creature you hit up to the maximum number of targets as normal for the spell. If you strike more targets than the spell could target, then you choose which enemies are affected. Each strike counts towards your multiple attack penalty, but do not increase your multiple attack penalty until after you've made all your strikes. This right here is our ace in the hole. Oh, there's a whole bunch of enemies around me. Let's hit them all with Spell Strike. On the free archetype side of things, we're going to start with the Cleric Dedication. This will give us some divine cantrips and access to a feat that we're going to take next that is really going to help our shield out. It doesn't really matter what deity we pick here, as long as it's a deity that allows for good worshippers. We're going to be taking the Champion Dedication later, so we need to be able to be good, because we want to protect our allies with this build, not punish our enemies for attacking us. Then we'll want to pick up Emblazoned Armament. This will give us a +1 to our hardness on our shield. We can also use it to get a +1 bonus to hit, but most of the time we're going to want to use this on our shield, because more hardness equals more damage blocked. Then we'll pick up the Sentinel Dedication. Yes, we are going to be trained in heavy armor due to our Champion Dedication, which we'll take later. However, the Champion archetype can only give us expert in heavy armor. The Sentinel Dedication will give us up to Master in our heavy armor. For this build, we'll also need to take the Steel Skin archetype skill feat. This will eventually enable us to rest in our heavy armor normally. This effectively means that we can never be caught without our armor on, even if the party gets ambushed during the night. Directed Channel will allow us to heal a bunch of our allies without healing our enemies. When we cast the version of heal that targets an area, we can make it a 60-foot cone instead of a 30-foot emanation. Honestly, we can't take our champion dedication yet, and this was the best feat I could come up with here. Speaking of which, now that we're level 10, we can finally take our champion dedication. This will give us 2 skills of our choice, since we're already training religion and our deity's associated skill. However, other than just access to other champion archetype feats, that's pretty much all the dedication gives us. Overall, we're mainly taking this as a prerequisite. Next up is Divine Ally for Shield Ally. This will increase the hardness of our shield by another 2. It will increase its HP and break threshold by 50%. And that, of course, will allow our shield to last a heck of a lot longer, especially with one of our ancestry feats, which I'm going to talk about later. And of course, this wouldn't be a tanky teamwork build without Shield Warden. Now we can use our shield block to protect our allies as long as they're adjacent to us. Our shield blocks damage for them instead of us following the normal rules for shield block. And of course, for all those times that you just really need that extra hardness, we'll be taking Everstand Stance. By wielding our shield in 2 hands, we increase its hardness by 2 whenever we use the shield block reaction. This is our more defensive ace in the hole. We might not be able to attack in this stance, but this could save us from going down to 0 hit points. And that's what's important here. Next, we'll want to pick up our champion's reaction. This right here is why we need to be good. The evil champion reactions won't help us in this build, but any of the good champion reactions will. They all allow us to reduce damage on allies, so they all are going to be helpful here. Pick whichever one you prefer. Although, if we're being honest, I'd probably go with Paladin just for that extra attack. After all, we are trying to be a threat here and get enemies to go after us instead of our allies. But since they all work on damage from attacks, you can pick whatever you want. And our last class feat for this build is going to be Shield of Reckoning. With this, we can use our champion's reaction and our shield block to protect one ally. We can reduce the damage on an ally twice, making this an incredible teamwork option. Alright, for our ancestry feats, first up we want to take Genie Weapon Familiarity. This will give us access to all uncommon genie weapons, aka that sweet Wishblade. And with the Wishblade at level 1, we'll be a threat right from the get. Then we've got Dwarven Reinforcement. If we spend 1 hour working on our shield, then we can give it a +1 hardness for 24 hours. If we're a master in crafting, then we can give it a +2, and if we're legendary, we can give it a +3. Then we'll take Fortify Shield. Once per day, we can raise our shield, and if we do, we can add our character level to the shield's hardness. This hardness increase only applies if you use shield block before the end of your next turn. Then we've got Mountain Stoutness. This will increase our hit points by our level. In addition, the DC of our recovery checks is now 9 plus our dying value instead of 10 plus our dying value. We are a tank. We need as much hit points as possible, even though it's going to be difficult to hit us. We do have some healing potential in this build, but it's still good to have the most hit points we can get. And our last ancestry feat is going to be Shaitan Skin. We can cast Stone Skin as an innate spell 3 times per day. Resistance 5 to physical damage, plus of all our defensive stuff, is going to make us very hard to take down. This, of course, will allow our allies to do basically whatever they want, since we're a threat that is very difficult to take down. On the general feat side of things, we're going to also need Unburdened Iron. That means taking Ancestral Paragon. Unburdened Iron will allow us to move at full speed, even though we're wearing heavy armor. We're a dwarf. We're already slower than all other ancestries. We don't need to be any slower than we need to be. Then we'll take Fleet, so we can be just as fast as other ancestries, even in heavy armor. Then, of course, we'll take the standard Die Hard Toughness and Canny Acumen for our reflex saves. Alright, that's going to do it for this video. Let me know what you guys want to see for my next teamwork build on this channel. Remember, teamwork is vital, and I'll see you guys next time.